Okay, we're back.
Back again.
This is part 2, back in the saddle. All right, we're with Jim South of World Modeling. The one and only, the great Jim South. Okay, so last time we left off, we were over here at talking about Hal Freeman, Traci Lords, and what was going on.
Right.
So let's start with Hal Freeman, as much as you can remember, because this was what, 1980?
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was in the 80s. Hal Freeman, that's back when the LAPD was running around busting everybody on pimping and pandering if you were making a movie. You weren't pimping, but you were making a movie. He got convicted by the city on pimping and pandering. He decided to fight it, so Hal Freeman took it to the state Supreme Court, appealed it, won, and opened it up for everybody. He spent a lot of money going through courts and stuff, but he did win. And in fact, one of the justices said that it looked as if the state of California was trying to make an end run around the First Amendment. When a justice gives an opinion like that in writing, it's harder to turn it over, you know, so they could use it again.
Mm-hmm.
So that relieved me of 2 of the 3 cases that I had pending. And what happened was, when the state found out on Traci Lords...
Oh, hold on one second. Let's go back to Hal.
Okay.
So I just want to get this clear, because the people out there, I don't think 90% of them know that pretty much shooting in Southern California was illegal.
It was illegal every place. It just depended on the mayor of that city whether or not he wanted to enforce that law. Like you could go to San Francisco and shoot whatever you wanted and nobody ever got busted because they were very liberal with the mayor and the chief of police. And yet you could shoot here and get busted for pimping and pandering. And that's what happened to Freeman, is that he was directing a shooting, paying the talent, and they busted him. They turned the city or state always turned the models around, scaring them, saying, this is going to be in the newspaper, your parents are going to know what you're doing, scare them into testifying against the director and or the agent, which is me.
So intimidation and coercion.
Yeah, yes.
Which is kind of illegal.
Well, it kind of sucks.
Right.
But the cops were just, a couple of those cops actually became friends of mine. They're just doing their job, doing what they're supposed to do. They weren't nasty about it.
Uh-huh. No, they were nice?
Yeah, they were very nice, very pleasant.
Yeah, I understand. People have a job, they get paid. Everybody wants to do the job the best they can do it.
Yeah.
And even if they have to extort you, they still
yeah, well, even the assistant prosecuting DA on one of the cases came up to me out in the hallway of the court building and said, Jim, I've got to go up where the real criminals are. Can you let the judge know I'll be a little late coming back? That actually happened. So they were just doing their job.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone ever met you and spent a few minutes with you, they would know that you're a complete gentleman, you know, and you're not trying to do anything illegal or anything against any constitutional law or take advantage of anyone.
Right.
And so how can you not be, you know, gentlemanly back to you? That's the way I see it. But anyways, I wasn't there. You were there. So let's say, because this is what I understand. Hal Freeman went this whole way through 6 or 7 years. That's what I understood.
That sounds about right.
6 or 7 years, and at the end, he won. He made it legal in Southern California or California to shoot adult material. They set precedents, so it made it kind of okay around the state of California.
Right, that's correct.
Right? And in the process, it killed him.
Yeah, probably the strain of court and the outlay of money and everything combined put a lot of pressure on him. Pressure can create heart attacks or strokes or whatever.
And that's what happened to him?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Was he a real good guy? I mean,
I got along with Hal Freeman. Some people liked him, some didn't. And I got along with him. He was always straight with me. To my knowledge, he paid all of the models that he used. There was never a problem. Always paid the agency fee and was an upright guy. I think that a bunch of us should have kicked in to reimburse him a little bit since he opened the door for everybody. But that never happened.
That's a shame.
It should have, but it didn't.
So I know AVN made a award called the Hal Freeman Good Guy Award.
That's correct. They did.
And well deserved.
Yeah, very much so.
So in honor of Hal Freeman, we thank you. Thank you, Hal.
Very much. I was even an extra when his wife was continuing to run the company for a while. I did what I never do. I was an extra in a movie in remembrance of Hal Freeman. Wow. That's the way his wife put it when she hired me. I didn't charge him.
What company did he own?
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. I remember because they used to have some type of reference to Pinky. Who was Pinky?
Pinky was a guy that worked for Cinderella Distributing. I don't know if he had a connection with Hal Freeman. And he had a heart attack at the convention in Vegas. It didn't kill him, but he had a heart attack. But that's Pinky. Yeah, he was a salesman.
Oh, okay. Because I was, an actor, and in the scripts they bring up Pinky in the Hollywood videos.
Oh, okay.
Strangely enough,
Yeah.
I always wonder who the hell is Pinky. Right? There's a porno star named Pinky. She's a good girl, and she did a lot of work in my movies. Oh. But that's this is way before Pinky was around.
Right.
So, anyways, sometimes people don't know that being in the adult business, especially in the late 70s or the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s, for distributors and producers, could be very hard on your heart. Because the law enforcement was trying to destroy you.
And the agents.
And the agent, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
back then there were only two.
Yeah, let's go back to you, because Hal Freeman, we thank you, for your strength and, giving us freedom. Mm-hmm. And let's go back to you. So we have your first case, right? I mean, I've been arrested before, It's not very, it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. So here you are doing everything that you're supposed to do legally. Right. Right? You're not trying to do anything illegal. You're like a father to the actors and the actresses. Mm. I know, because you're always helping them out anyways. So you're a good guy. You're like the Jim South good guy, right? Yeah. Relative with Hal Freeman.
I appreciate that.
Of course. So what happens? Tell me, you're in your office conducting business. Did anything happen on that? This is the first case we're talking about.
I don't remember which case was which. I only know there were two felony cases of pimping and pandering, and then the case on Traci Lords, which had to do with her being underage and having real ID, which she had. But anyway, Jim Como, who was administrative vice, who had busted me before, came into my office with a slew of photographers and writers. You would have thought I was Al Capone, and telling me that Traci Lords was underage, and I started laughing. I thought he was making a joke. I mean, if you could have seen what this girl looked like made up, you would never dreamed she was under 18.
Well, I saw her movies.
Yeah.
I was unfortunately, I didn't get to work with her. But anyways.
Yeah, she was a real winner. I got her Penthouse twice, Penthouse Centerfold, a lot of magazine work back then, and she was a real looker.
Beautiful, yeah. So So you're in your office, and here comes Jim Como, and with all these writers,
right,
to write shit,
and
photographers to publicize that you're Al Capone in porno, right?
Yeah.
In the adult world. So they arrest you.
Yes.
They arrest you, and everybody takes pictures of you being arrested, and they take you to jail.
And they all the way out to the sidewalk. There had to be 10 to 15 of these photographers, writers, whatever they are.
News cameras, mainstream media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
Channel 2.
On the Channel 7 at 11 o'clock. It was on Channel 5. It was, again, like I said, you would have thought I was Al Capone.
And how did your heart feel? I mean, was you breaking your heart, or how did it feel?
It was a lot of strain.
A lot of strain?
A lot of strain. Didn't have any heart attacks, but it was tough.
Because I don't think people understand when, or some people don't understand, when everybody thinks you're the bad guy, and you got to spend all this money, and everywhere you go, people think you're a bad guy. I mean, how does it make you feel?
Makes me feel terrible, even when my youngest son's friend saw me on TV, and that kid's parents wouldn't let their kid play with my youngest son anymore. And that makes you feel really bad, really bad. And the strange thing is that with the underage factor in the state had to prove that I knew she was underage, which I didn't. No, I mean, I would be an idiot. Back then I was getting, I think, $50 a girl. I would break the law for $50 and place an underage girl. Traci Lords had a California ID that was real. It wasn't staged.
1 second. So I want to, make sure everyone knows, because this is a long time ago. Traci Lords was the most significant underage actress in the adult industry history.
Correct.
And it landed on your shoulders. It was a nightmare. So just to let everyone know, this is about 87 or 88. This like a ton of bricks landed on your head. So go ahead.
Well, they when the state figured out from interviewing people that I didn't know she was underage, they dropped the charges. I thought, whew, at least that's over with. Then the feds came along. And the feds came up with a little bitty unknown law called strict liability. And it says this: if you get a minor underage work, it doesn't matter whether her parents gave the okay, whether she gave the okay. You can't even show the ID she produced as a defense. And it's like the attorney said. He said that law is unconstitutional. But do you want to spend $100,000 proving that it's unconstitutional? So by and by, the feds had to let it go for this reason. Somebody said, I should have checked with her school. I said, you don't understand that Traci went and got a girlfriend's ID that was of age, birth certificate, took it into DMV and asked for an ID to be made by the state, which they made her an ID. And that, along with the second ID, is what Traci showed me when I interviewed her. So she had the real ID. But then the ironic part of it was the feds got really nasty and crappy, and they said, well, you should have checked it out at her school. I said, that won't work, because the name she gave me was not her name, and that girl is of age. And so the feds, she goes to the federal building later, shows them the same IDs she showed me to get a passport to go to Europe to make an X-rated movie. So the feds had to drop the case on me. They would have looked like blithering idiots.
So she had a U.S. passport?
Yeah.
From the federal government?
From the federal government. Same ID she showed me. I never knew it was so easy for a girl just to get a girlfriend's birth certificate, take it in, and said, I want an ID made.
Yeah. I understand that.
That was tough.
I had the same situation. You know, the people really, it's hard to understand really what you go through trying to, you know, make sure all the identification is correct.
That part of the industry was a nightmare back then. Oh. And it really depended on when the Republicans are in office, they come after you. When the Democrats are in office, they don't come after you. Much more liberal.
So, yeah. Back to Traci Lords. You made her a lot of money.
Supposedly, and I can't verify this, I think in a 10-month period she made around $300,000. Now that could be exaggerated, but that's what I was told. Is it what she made? And I know that her first shooting was for a photographer by the name of Lance Kincaid, good guy.
I know.
And Lance shot Tom Byron with Traci, stills, not a movie, and it was a simulation shoot where they're touching and they look like they're having sex, but there's no penetration. Well, knowing Traci and what I was told by Lance, he had to stop shooting because Traci went on to do the hardcore part that he didn't want. So he had to stop shooting. So she was just a real whippersnapper, this Traci Lords.
I heard stories.
She gave an interview that said she was a teen and just had no idea what she was doing. And that's when she referred to me as Jim North in her book. And that's another story.
Not very nice.
I know.
Not very nice at all. So, yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of stories. You made her a lot of money. She had a lot of fun, and she turned her back on you and everybody else. And then I even understood or heard, or both, that after, you know, kind of the reason why she, this is what I heard, kind of the reason why she told the government she was underage or something like that. That's what I heard. I don't know. I wasn't there. Because she wanted to get all the movies off the shelf and get her own movie out there.
I heard that. She was going to start her own line.
So
I did hear that.
She double dipped, kind of.
She's a smart cookie.
She was smart as hell.
I found out that the guy that came in with her, his last name was Rogers, that brought her into my office. It was about 7, 8 o'clock at night, and supposedly he was her stepfather. When I interviewed her, looked at her IDs, interviewed her, sent her into the other room, the little studio room, to take, back then, Polaroid pictures, he said to me, she'll end up doing hardcore. She even knows who Ron Jeremy is. So this guy that brought her in to me was a real dirtbag. I found out later that Rogers was not her stepfather, that he had dated her mother for a while. And that's how he met Traci. And so that's everything has a story to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great story. So back to that, she does probably, I don't know, I wasn't there, this hearsay, has her own movie, because I know I saw that movie called Traci, I Love You, right? And that's her movie, right? When she's legal.
I think so, yeah.
Right. Anyway, so Traci Lords went on to Hollywood and did a lot of regular film, even with Johnny Depp.
And what I liked the most, she was in Cry Baby with Depp, is that she keeps talking about she didn't know what she was doing with the X-rated stuff, and she wanted it just to be left alone. But through interviews, she used her porn name in regular movies. Yeah. So there's another double dip.
Wow. I mean, she is unbelievably smart.
She was sharp. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's move on. So you win, and the pressure is off. You spent, how much money did you end up spending for that case?
On that case, because there were 2 other cases, probably about $10,000.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, no, not that much.
Hallelujah.
Well, I never end up actually going to court on it. That was postponements and investigations and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great, I mean, compared to what I went through.
Oh, yeah.
my buddies, the attorneys, got a hold of me. But anyways, so, whew, yeah. So that's great. I didn't know that. Wow, that's great to hear. Mm-hmm. So how Freeman pretty much really opens the doors for Southern California. Does that, after he beats, the cases and the people are more free and more shooting goes on, it's way more wild, way more action?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Big difference in the industry once that happened. I mean, we literally used to train girls when they're going to a shooting how to find out if they're being followed to the location. That was when it was illegal to do. And so, yeah, big difference. I mean, the pimping and pandering stopped, at least with us, and we're using it then on the pimps on the street, which is what it was designed for. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, big difference in the industry.
So, that's incredible. I think my first shoot, for you, my first shoot was for you.
Right.
In 1989, right?
89.
Anyway, so this is still, so I don't think this was part of the idea, but maybe it was. I think we circled around the block once just to make sure we weren't, being followed. Just even though it was legal, we're still being cautious.
Yeah, what we used to tell them to do is to get off the freeway and get into, a residential area by the freeway and go around the block once, pull in a driveway, back out and go the other way. And if they're following you, you'll pass them when you're going back the other way. Yeah. That's what we used to teach them to do.
That's great. I mean, I heard stories, Peter North, or maybe Buck, because, Buck Adams used to be my roommate for a minute.
Right.
So Buck Adams told me, or somebody told me, that it was much more fun when it was illegal.
That was probably Bill Margold.
Bill?
And me. It was more fun.
Well, these guys are saying it's more fun. There was drugs and it was more wild on the sets in the 80s.
Yeah, I've never been into the drug thing at all.
But I never seen any drugs on a set. And I was on...
There used to be.
I never seen them. They hid them for me because I wasn't doing them.
Yeah.
But, I was on a lot of sets, obviously.
Yeah.
I did 3,000 movies, so I was on a lot of sets. But anyways, so that's what I heard, and it was more fun, huh? Being cautious, sneaking around.
Yeah, and the money was, it was a lot easier to make money because there were a lot more shootings. Yeah, it was actually a good time. Yeah. And then once it became legal, then they come up with, you got to do this, and you got to do that, you got to have an HIV test, you have to make copies of the IDs. There was none of that to start with. Yeah. We looked at the IDs, but we didn't have to copy them.
Yeah. I remember when I started, there was no HIV test.
Yeah. I didn't even know what HIV was.
Yeah. It was, I heard of it, you didn't want to catch it, but you didn't think it was running around our business. Mm. So there was no test when I joined up. The testing didn't start till about 92. They were asking for a 6-month test.
That was the ELISA.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called the ELISA.
Right. So around the 92, testing slowly started. And then it started building way up with Sharon Mitchell having a good old time. Anyways, so the shooting goes on. You were getting, the talent was getting paid more money when it was illegal?
Maybe slightly more. It really depends on the talent. It really does. Yeah. It depends on how many girls you got. Okay. An average week for us on new girls were 25 to 35 girls a week. A lot of them didn't do movies. They did magazines. Uh-huh. But, yeah.
So, back to the underage. I had heard these stories, just to put it out there. Because Debbie Diamond told me herself that she was doing a movie in the 70s and she was underage.
I heard that she was 17.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But that was before you dealt with her, I think.
Right.
And then I heard of the beautiful Christara Barrington was supposed to be underage.
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard that one.
Yeah, I heard that from a few people, but that's just what somebody said, you know. And I'm sure there's been more, you know.
I'm sure as easy as it was as the state made it for them to get real ID, not phony, real ID.
Yeah. Yeah, so the 80s was a time when it was just kind of wild, kind of free, and everybody was paranoid a little bit about the police, but they weren't so paranoid about sex. Sex was free and beautiful. To me, it seemed like the ultimate. When I watched the movie, you know, I used to have to go to the video store and get somebody to go rent it for me. They go into a little binder, open it up, you see little box covers. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is great, right? I was 14 or 13, right? Just rent this for me. Let's watch it. It was unbelievable, right? So I get, who knows, somebody to rent it for me, you know? And it was so mysterious and it was so free. And people loved the idea of sex. I mean, sex was not a bad thing like it seems today. The girls liked men, or the women liked men, and the men liked women. The girls liked boys, the boys liked girls, and it seemed like it was a harmony, you know, like, you know, like music. It was pretty and it worked together nicely,
right,
in a harmony. So when I saw those movies, you know, I used to think about some of those girls before I got into business. Oh, if I only can get into the business. Right. So I want to ask you about a few of the girls that I remember. So, of course, one of the more famous or most famous, or, you know, parallel with Traci Lords, because she was really, you know, unbelievable looking and a great, you know, in the movies, was Ginger Lynn, right? Tell me about what you think about Ginger Lynn and who she was.
Ginger Lynn was with me for quite a while. Very good performer and not a bad actress. Back then, we used to get some regular movies, like Hollywood movies, no sex or anything. And I used to get her quite a bit of work in that. Her, Amber Lynn, Christy Canyon, and Nina Hartley, a few of the girls, ladies that had been around a while, with very big names. Used to get them quite a bit of stuff.
So what people don't know is right behind you is a board. Your board,
right? That
you were so gracious enough to give to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Know, because when I was younger, when I first started, I would see those names up on there on the board, and I'd be like, and to see all the days that they were booked. I mean, this is a piece of history right here behind you, this board. And I would see those names, and I'd be like, if I can only get on that board, I'd be somebody, right? And so I'm sure Ginger Lynn was on that board.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But she was gone before I got in the business. She had retired, you know, or semi-retired. So this board, tell me when you got this board.
Well, all agents have 7 to 10 people that they book a lot, maybe a little more with the guys also. And it was a lot easier because back then we didn't have websites, we didn't have the internet, had none of that. So it was a lot speedier to look at this board and then put the initials of who's working for who up there. And if you came in as a director and wanted to hire TTBoy, within a week I could look at that board and tell whether or not you were booked, as long as you made everybody go through me, which you did do. So it was a lot speedier, this board was.
Because it would be, I know, because you would be like this. Your desk would be here, you look right to your left.
That's
and
right.
There that was that board.
Yeah.
And you'd be on the phone, yeah, he's available, or she's available. So only the top got on that board.
Yeah, sure. But we had more girls up, not that many guys. You, Peter North, Mark Goldberg or Mark Wallace, Tom Byron, Randy West. There's a few.
I mean, we still see the initials up there. If people can see, up on the top there, there's a TT right there. That must be me over in the corner.
Yeah.
Right there. And there's a TB. That must be Tom Byron. Now, what does the SS stand for, you think?
I don't know.
Stephen St. Croix, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Could be.
And then there's a PN. Look at the PN is rubbed off a little. Peter North, right?
Uh-huh.
On that P section.
Right.
And there must be some of these girls up here that we don't even know.
Yeah, well, all of this from here over, I believe, are girls.
Uh-huh.
I don't, by the initials, it's been too long. I don't really know. But this, like in TTBoy over here, was booked the first, second, and third, then I would put Ron Ron Sullivan. And that way I know. A few of the directors didn't like it because after you've been around as much as you have, you know who most of those initials are. People would come in, or guys would come in that want to get work, and they would look up and see that Sullivan is shooting by the RS and call Sullivan and bug him. So there were a few directors that didn't like it, but it sure helped me.
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful board. And I made it up there. It was great. Yeah. That board is a piece of history. So when did you get that board? What year?
Oh, God. I don't remember.
70s?
Probably late 70s.
Late 70s. So that thing is pretty much 40-something years old.
Pretty close.
Or 40 years old.
Well, I'd been in my office 43 years when I moved out. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, yeah. That's a cool board. It's a great, I'll never forget the board. But anyway, so Ginger Lynn was she was beautiful. She was
great.
Sexy.
Fantastic.
I asked about her because I didn't work with her. But Peter North said she was one of the best. He loved her.
Yeah.
And so Christy Canyon, what about her?
My darling. She was a sweetheart, an absolute sweetheart. She did real well. My understanding is she saved quite a bit of money, bought a little property, which is a smart thing to do that most people don't do. And I think she was on Playboy Radio or radio for the Playboy channel, something. And I went on that once for an interview with her, and I always really liked her a lot.
I love her. She's great.
Yeah.
She was one of my first stars that I worked with.
Oh, yeah.
And she was, always so cool, so sweet. And I talked to her the other day, and she's just still the sweetest girl, one of the sweetest girls I've ever known.
Yeah. I think she married Rob Spallone.
Oh, yeah? Oh, he's a nice guy. I like him.
Yeah.
And she's cool, and yeah, she still looks pretty. She's great.
Yeah.
I was on Playboy Radio maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, with Christy, and she's great. Yeah, love her. I was lucky enough to work with her. So let's go back to another girl. What about Amber Lynn?
Amber Lynn was also with Pretty Girl International. So I didn't get Amber Lynn the work that I got Ginger Lynn, because Ginger Lynn was exclusively with World Modeling. Okay. But I got her quite a bit of stuff, quite a bit of work.
So we're still in the 80s, and let's talk about Pretty Girl International.
Okay.
Pretty Girl International is your only competition.
At the time, yeah.
At the time. In the 70s and 80s.
Right.
And 90s. Right?
Yeah.
So, were they a threat?
Well, not really, because Reb Sorowitz, the guy that owned it and ran it, wasn't really, as Bill Margot used to say, he was a friend of Reb's, that Reb's not really a businessman. He's kind of a biker that has a little agency on the side that Bill ran for him. And World Modeling was much more aggressive about getting people work and having them make money, and of course World Modeling make money. So I think it was more of a business with us than it was at Pretty Girl. They were down originally in Hollywood, and then they moved to the Valley, to Ventura Boulevard in the San Fernando Valley.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. So Ventura, where? Sherman Oaks, or not?
No,
Sherman
it sure wasn't. I think it was around Studio City.
Oh, not too far, huh?
Yeah.
Because you're based over there in Sherman Oaks, and I have the map right here. And let me show you. World Modeling would have been right about here. This is World Modeling.
Yeah.
Right around here. The best place in the whole world. I loved it.
Thank you.
We have a map of the San Fernando Valley right there. So that's what it's all about right here on this show. Mm. So anyways, so Reb was your competition, but let's say you're pretty much like McDonald's or Coke, right? And Reb is kind of like the hot dog stand down the street. He's got one store, and you've got like about 1,000, pretty much, right? So it's really... Go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Not much competition, but as I heard some stories along the way, and we're, you know, this is, this might be hard for you to talk about, but it's very important. Being the biggest and the best always has consequences. You always have a target on your back, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
The police wanted you, you know, and anybody who wanted to be an agent wanted you. Any actor who couldn't get any work was probably pissed off at you, or actress. Mm. And in the process, you have what happened to you around, what, 86 or 87?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the year, but yeah, it happened twice, but around that time.
So tell everybody exactly.
The first time I was attacked as I pulled in my car into my garage at home, was attacked with a baseball bat that broke both of my arms. And the second time, I had gone with Jethro Bodine and
Max Baer.
Max Baer.
Junior.
Yeah, Junior.
The heavyweight champ's son.
Yeah. I had gone to eat at Solly's right across the street from the office on Van Nuys Boulevard. And as I was leaving, I was walking towards the car, and I noticed what looked like a homeless guy pushing a buggy, one of the grocery store buggies. And Max had called me back, and he said, "Hey, Jimmy, when you get in that van," he said, "be sure to check there's nobody taking your head off behind you." And I laughed. As I turned around to walk, the homeless guy was still pushing the buggy. When I got up to the door, I dropped the car keys because I had casts on both arms. And I dropped the car keys, and when I went to pick them up, I looked up and saw that the homeless guy had a baseball bat. That's all he had in the buggy. And when he came at me, I put up my hands. He ended up, that's how crooked this finger is, hitting my hand with one baseball bat, and he swung the second time and missed me. Then he took off. Meanwhile, Jethro was leaving the parking lot, but Jethro looked in his mirror, and he didn't see me. I'm a lot taller than the cars. So he came back around, saw me. I had tripped and fallen after I ran. And anyway, he said, "Jimmy, what's the problem?" And I said, the guy. And this African-American kid said, "We saw it, mister. There he goes back there." And between the two stores, the grocery store and the ice cream parlor, there's no lights lighting it up, and it was nighttime. The hitter evidently parked between the two buildings, and after he ran, he got in his car and drove right past us. And so anyway, that's what happened.
Well, that sounds pretty scary. That's terrible.
It was a wee bit.
A lot bit. That's scary as hell. So, I mean, you get out of your car at your home. This is the more dangerous. You know, you're at your home. That's your private sanctuary. And here comes one guy or two guys?
One.
One guy with a bat and breaks both your arms.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that you protected your head.
Yeah.
And would have broke your head open.
Yeah, I did. See this knot?
Oh, my God, yeah.
That's where the baseball bat hit me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, so he wasn't there to hurt you. He was there to kill you.
I think he would, if the blow, well, the doctor said, if those blows had gone to my head, it would have killed me. But luckily, I blocked it.
Son of a bitch. I'd like to catch that guy myself. So if you're out there, buddy, come see me.
Yeah.
I'll hook you up. Anyways, and so then they come back. The same guy, you think, or a different guy?
In the garage, it was dark, and the light, when I was getting out of the car, the light was already off. I had gone grocery shopping, and I was in the Z, so I took the bags and it opened my door in the garage and set the bags down there. And when I got attacked, I tripped over the bags backing up because he had me between two cars in the garage. It's kind of scary.
Not really scary. Yeah, I mean, and then he comes back, but a different guy, you don't know for sure, it's dark, maybe the same guy. He comes back and breaks your fingers off almost.
Almost.
And tries, I mean, who did this?
Well, it's not anybody that I can prove. Mm-hmm. I believe I know, without mentioning names, who had it done. And I even know that the guy was offered $750 for it, that he ended up getting $250 of the $750, and the person that hired him to do it ended up screwing him out of money. But again, I don't know the guy's name.
No, who did it, but the guy who hired him might have been with the initials LF.
No.
No?
He bragged about having it done. He didn't do it. That's not the way they would operate.
No. So Larry Flint wouldn't do that.
No.
So it wasn't Larry Flint.
He tried to take credit for it, I'm told.
And so it might have been with the initials
RS,
the competition.
Right.
And that makes perfect sense, since you're McDonald's and Coke and all combined, and you own everything, and the hot dog down the street wants some action. But they can't get none.
It's a toughie.
So anyways, I'm glad that you made it. I'm glad, I'm glad it didn't hit you in the head. But I would like to find that guy, Anyways, so this is still the 80s, and here we are. And one thing I want to bring up, because this is kind of people dwell on it a lot these days, and we want to talk about it. African American or black talent, Mm-hmm. When I came in, there was not so much black girls, not too many black girls working, Anyway, so I remember in 1989, I was supposed to work with Ebony Eyes, my first scene, but she called in sick, and I had to work with this other girl who I wasn't really, attracted to. But she was a pretty girl, right? Ebony Eyes?
Yeah, very pretty.
Yeah. And she was cool, nice girl?
Yeah. And she was no problem.
Big tits and all the good stuff?
Yeah.
Anyways, she was nice, right? Yeah. I heard she was really nice. I never met her, but I heard she was very nice. And then there was Purple Passion. I loved her. She was great.
I got a lot of the black actresses started, and even the actors started.
That's what I talk about.
And the industry is still, I feel, very unfair to black people. I mean, you can take a white girl on the Richter scale from 1 to 10 that's a 6, and you can take a black girl on the Richter scale that's an 8.5, and the white girl's going to get more work. There's just not enough people shooting the African Americans. And I say that sincerely to you, because to me, like I said, whether they're black, white, brown, it doesn't matter. If they can make themselves money, better themselves, and make you some money, then we're home free.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started my company in '96. But, so anyways, back to that. So then there was Purple Passion. And the girl, one of the reasons I got in the business, because I wanted to get in the business,
right,
was I was watching Angel Kelly in the Load Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And she blew my mind. She was so pretty, so sexy, and I don't know, something about her made me, just want to get in the business and get with her. I never worked with her, but I worked on her movie. Right, she was going out with Ron's son at that point in time in 1990.
Ron Sullivan's son.
Yeah, Nathan, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I never worked with her, but I saw her and she was pretty, but she was great in that movie. How was she as talent?
Very pleasant, and pretty punctual and dependable, which is unusual, as you know.
Yeah.
And no, she was fine, no problem.
What people don't know is that the adult business in the 80s and the 90s, people are not showing up on time all the time. They're more free. They're having parties. They're having sex. They're having the time of their life. It's fun. It's unbelievable. I mean, the adult business in the 80s and 90s, for me, was just like the dream of a lifetime. And it had to be that way for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was. Not everybody got the volume of work that you got, but a lot of them were. Well, you got to remember, to start with, there was probably 8, 10, 12 guys doing 90% of the movies, but that's back when more people were shooting features. They didn't shoot as often, but it was bigger shoots where they actually would have tryouts or exercises on getting the movie done. What's the word I'm looking for? Rehearsal. They would have rehearsals and stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of this, like I named earlier, TTBoy, Tom Byron, Mark Goldberg, Randy West, Peter North. I mean, a lot of these guys worked a lot. I could book 2-3 times a day. This is before Viagra, never a problem. I couldn't do when I was a teenager what you do now. But the fact that you always came through for me, there was never a problem, and I had no complaints.
That was great. You got me all the work. I used to sometimes do 4 scenes a day.
Yeah, no, I know.
That was great.
I don't know how you did it, but you did it.
And tell you the truth, it seemed to me like after the second scene, I felt relaxed. So third and fourth, I just was getting warmed up.
No, that's a good way to look at it.
Or the 1 and 2 were warming me up, and I just started ready to go, And that's the way it was. But so anyways, back to what about Sahara, right? That beautiful girl, Sahara or whatever.
Yeah, Sahara.
Sahara.
Yeah, she got quite a bit of work.
She looked very pretty. Was she pretty?
I thought she was. Yeah, I thought she was.
And she looked great. I mean, I don't think she did all that much work, but she looked unbelievable.
Yeah, she got some work, but
yeah, she was beautiful.
Not enough.
Yeah, she looked like a 9 or a 10 almost.
Pretty.
And yeah. So what other girl? Oh, Nina DePonica.
Nina DePonca.
Ponca, yeah. Yeah, she was Puerto Rican.
I think she was. Maybe mixed, but part Puerto Rican.
So Nina DePonca, she was beautiful. She was Puerto Rican, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked great. What about that crazy girl with the big, overgrown clit? She was so famous from New York. Probably you didn't know her.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's forget about her. And you didn't know. Did you know Marilyn Chambers?
I knew of her.
Right.
She was never with me.
Right, she was up north or something, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Frisco. What about Seika?
I think she was with me a short while, but she had already had a lot of work by the time I got her, so I didn't get her that much.
70s, that was before my time, and that was New York and maybe some San Francisco, mostly, right?
Yeah.
In any case, all right, so then to the actors now. So in 1980s, there was not very many black actors, right? You had, as far as I remember, Ray Victory, F.M. Bradley.
Right.
And then the one who I think was the best black actor to ever come around, you know, he was a real performer and he was strong. And he kind of changed the way the girls thought of the black actors, mostly, and, you know, typically thinking. And his name was Shawn Michaels.
Right.
And so tell me about Shawn Michaels.
Shawn got a lot of work. He's very intelligent. Him, Mr. Marcus, they were a couple of the guys that got as much. But he did give a great image for the African American. Always a spiffy dresser, usually in suit and tie. And that's really about it. I mean, I got him quite a bit of work.
Oh, he dressed great. He was a beautiful dresser. Yeah. Well, we used to hang out here and there. But, yeah, Shawn Michaels was, you know, in 1988, I think he started, And Marcus didn't start till 94, so he's not part of that generation, kind of, you know what I mean? But, you know, Shawn Michaels, I used to watch the way he talked to the women. It was unbelievable. Yeah. He was so smooth. Their panties were already off. And he loved the white girls. Yeah. So, I mean, I used to watch him. So people don't know, or they might know, they might think they know, because I was there, I was watching. A lot of white girls might have had racist parents, possibly, or racist friends, or didn't want to be seen on camera with a black man in those days, right? It's different today, but back then, you know. And so Shawn Michaels was such a great talker, and he was a good-looking guy, tall, dark, handsome guy.
Very smooth.
Smooth as hell, right? Yeah. You know, and I used to sit there and watch him, and he would talk to these girls who would no way in hell work with a black guy, or not, at least not on camera, have sex. And before you know it, yeah, well, I'll work with you, right? And it was amazing, right?
Well, there was a lot of that, yeah.
I mean, Shawn Michaels is the person who started pretty much all the, well, not all the white girls, but many white girls to do interracial.
Right, correct. Right? That's correct.
So he was a little pioneer in that field, that idea.
Right.
And he's, you know, so Shawn Michaels is part of the 80s, and he was great. And then he pretty much took the work from Ray Victory, because Ray Victory was almost on the way out, I think, right? And Shawn Michaels kind of cut his throat, taking the work. No,
yeah, maybe.
I mean, not in a bad way, because you know, Ray Victory's a hell of a nice guy. You know, I worked with him a few times, Ray Victory. You know, with a girl, of course, but side by side. And of course, me and Shawn Michaels did at least 100 movies together. You know, working with the girls. But so then we had Shawn Michaels, and then Julian St. Jacques, right? Right. Was his partner in crime, right? They always hang out together, and they were always on the same sets. And then Mr. Marcus came. But that's in the 90s. Shawn Michaels and Julian St. Jacques are from the late 80s, or Julian came in 1990, 1991. Anyways, I like them both. They're both good guys. But Shawn Michaels, in my opinion, is probably the best black actor in American history. That's my opinion.
He was very good. He's
still working.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's up? Hey, guys. So we're done with the 80s. I come in 1989. And let's go back to that. So we're still in the 80s, the last part of the 80s. Here I come. Because I really come in November of 89, right? I'm just this young kid who dreaming about getting in the business, and, you know, I got the look in my eye, hey, right? And I'm not doing any drugs. I'm not doing anything. I'm just lifting weights and working in a truck shop like a dog, right? And I'm just sitting there, and so you see me. I got in from Elliot Siegel over there at Western Visuals. He calls, says, I got this great guy. He's done a lot of movies. Of course, I had did any movies. You know, I was totally a virgin to movies.
Right.
But he was such a great talker. And thank you, Elliot, for helping me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got in. I already had your phone number.
Right.
A friend of mine knew Clive McLean from Hustler Magazine.
Right.
He worked for Clive. My friend knew the guy who worked for Clive. They were buddies, and they gave me your number. I got your number from Barbie from the Market Street Cinema in San Francisco. Remember Barbie, the blonde Barbie? She had tits.
Right.
And not Blondie, that was with Tony Montana, but Barbie. Right? And I had your number sitting in my toolbox. But I was too chicken shit to call you. And thank God I didn't call you, because I would just been another guy. Tell me about that real quick. Here I am. This is 1989 or 1988, whatever, right around that time. You're a guy that wants to get into business. You see the pretty girls that people don't know. There's no internet. There's not even really cell phones, really. There's no way. How the hell do you get into business? Do you make it in the porno business? Get in. How? It's all like where? How can you think you can do it? You know, you got to really, how do you get in? You don't know. But let's say you do get lucky and you say, call this guy, because he is the guy who takes care of everything. You own the whole world. You own it. You're the gateway. You know, Jim?
Right.
You got to get past the gatekeeper. He's got to take your call, you know? You're the biggest guy in Hollywood in the adult business.
Right.
You're the biggest, you're William Morris or whoever, the top of the food chain, right? How the hell do you find the way to get in? People don't know. It's impossible. There's a lot of people out there that were probably watching movies. Oh, I wish I could get in there. They probably could do the job, some of them, right? But how the hell are they going to get to you? It's impossible. Really? Luckily, I have friends and family from New York, right? My uncle's was Elliot Siegel, who's got his own crew in New York, right? Whatever. So tell me, when a guy calls you, right? Because you take the girls' phone calls, yes.
Right.
But when the guys call, I listen to it a million times. But it's just like, tell me, Jim, your point of view, here I am. Let's do a reenactment, okay? Because this is, this is how it is, how it was. Hey, hello? And you say world modeling? Can you say it?
World modeling.
Hey, I'm a guy and I think I could do the job. I want to be with the girls. I want to have sex with the girls, and I got a big dick, and what do you say?
Well, it depends on what year it is. Back when you came on board, it was a lot easier getting a guy started than it is now. Now you got everybody calling for themselves. And I would say either come in and let me get a couple of Polaroids if it was years back, and I'll see if I can get you started, or if you're recommended to me as Elliot recommended you, or I might say right now we've got enough guys.
Well, I want the people to know this. You're always a gentleman, but I watch firsthand, did hundreds of times. And you say, well, sorry, we're really not looking for male actors or men right now. Call back in 6 months, or call back, never. Right? Kind of. But, you're always a gentleman, always nice.
Right.
So the point is, it's almost impossible to get in. And here I am, way out there in the middle of nowhere, working like a dog. And so Elliot gets me in. So I'm lucky. I walk in. I never asked you this question, but if you can remember, what do you see?
I don't really remember. That's been too long ago.
Just a young punk just looking?
No, just a guy that wants to get started in the movie business that I think has already done a couple of movies.
Yeah. And you got me a job right away.
Yeah.
See, so that's it. You thought I did movies already.
Right.
And had I not, you would have been a lot more cautious.
Very much so.
Right?
Because a lot of guys, as you already know, they can be the best lover in the world with their girlfriend in a bedroom at home with the lights out. When it comes to performing in front of those hot lights and a crew standing there staring at you with the girl, and you can't do it. Just,
This is hard.
yeah.
Yeah, you think
there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
People just don't have any idea, you know.
Well, plus a director has their favorites like you. They know you're going to perform. They know you're going to get along with the girl. Why would they take a chance on a brand new guy? Doesn't make them any additional money.
No.
So that's why it's hard getting a guy started, especially now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in those days, the new guys would start, and there was one-day wonders a lot of times,
right,
where they'd shoot 5 or 6 scenes in one day, and if you slowed them down, you know, by just an hour, which has happened all the time, certain actors, right? Then that would cost them a lot of money because of location.
Right.
So they don't want to pay any more money than they have to. You know, the people don't want to work till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning because the guy couldn't get going.
Right.
And they would sometimes tell me, as I heard, you know, a lot of times, that they would stick me first up and last, so they'd get in, get going, and get the hell out of there. That's what they would say.
Yeah.
You know.
That's correct.
So this is the 80s, and last part of the 80s real quick, the directors, right? We had these directors. And tell me about some of the directors you remember.
Well, I remember almost all of them. Ron Sullivan was great.
Well, Ron Sullivan went by the director name Henry Pochard.
Correct.
He was, go ahead.
Well, he was great. Hal Freeman was a distributor, but he was also a director. He was great. The people that shot for VCA through Russ Hampshire, a lot of photographers and a lot of directors, they were great. There's quite a few.
Well, John Leslie, huh?
John Leslie was a very good talent and also a very good director.
Yeah, John Leslie was amazing. But he was a director when I came around.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to have him put me to work, you know, right away. Mm-hmm. And so I was lucky. But so Paul Thomas too?
Paul Thomas also. Very good director. He won a lot of awards. Both of them did.
Yeah. John Leslie and Paul Thomas were unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're very serious about the craft.
Very much so.
And John Leslie is a very passionate person.
Mm-hmm.
He was wonderful, a great guy. Rest in peace. He was great.
Mm-hmm.
So and Henry Pochard.
Yeah.
You know, he passed away. He was great. I loved him.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. Unbelievable, you know. Very positive. He had great hair too. Remember I told you?
Yeah. I remember.
Jim South and Henry Pochard had the best hair in the business. Period.
You're funny.
But hey, we want to keep our hair, right?
Yeah.
So and then we have another great, right? Alex DeRenzi. Remember Alex DeRenzi?
Yeah.
Director?
Yeah, he was good. He was very good.
Yeah, he was great. Well, he gave me a lot of work, but he was great for me. You know. One important, you know, thought and idea that people must wonder is about the mob in the business.
Oh.
You know, the 70s, New York, a lot of mob. But you're way out here in California. How much mob action do you think you saw?
I've been asked that a lot before, and I can only say this. If somebody is really and truly connected, they're not going to talk about it, and they're not going to brag about it when they've had a couple of drinks. The few people that I've been around that have mentioned something about how they're kind of connected are probably not connected, or they wouldn't say that. I'd say there's a little enticement probably out of New York, but not a lot. as far as my end of it.
In the 80s.
Yes.
Remember, I'll just throw a name out there, right? Pretty close to as connected as you can get, you know, was Model. Was Coast to Coast, because Model was Coast to Coast.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Anyways, so you remember Coast to Coast?
Yeah, that's James, isn't it?
No. Coast to Coast was...
Oh, Marty.
Marty.
Yeah. Really, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Marty's Jewish.
All right. But did you know that Marty and his brother grew up in the same building as Roberto DiBernardo?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the brothers' company was a partner with Roberto DiBernardo.
Oh, no, I didn't.
And you heard of Roberto DiBernardo?
Yeah.
DB.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he was murdered by Sammy the Bull. But anyway, so they still have business going on. These are tough guys, you know? Mm-hmm. They still 80-something years old. They still doing business. Well, at least the brother of Marty is.
That's funny because I heard back then, a lot of people would get in as an agent thinking it's easy to be an agent, and it really isn't. It can be a nightmare, making the girls be reliable, making sure they're not doing drugs, one thing and another. That several people had said that I was connected, which is an impossibility since I'm Irish.
And Texas.
Yeah, and Texas. And that's why no other agent lasted, why I was still in business. And that's bull. Absolute bull. That's a joke.
Yeah,
but some people believed it.
I would have liked it a lot more because then you wouldn't have had your arms broken.
No, that's true.
Or at least the person who broke your arms would have been taken care of.
Yeah.
But that was never taken care of. So anyways, so I guess I know the story you told me. And I just want to bring it up because this is all about, mostly about stories, you know, this show. Mm-hmm. Interesting stories that you've never heard that you might want to hear. So here's a real story that you told me. And I want you to know if you'll tell it again. A certain powerful magazine mogul had you go to his house and was not cool.
Mm-hmm. I got a phone call on someone that wanted me to sit down and have a meeting with them, having to do with a very powerful magazine publisher.
You say his name? It's true.
Well, it's something that I can't prove, so I'd rather not say his name because I can't really prove it. And if I say he was responsible, then he could sue me.
Okay.
So it's better that I don't. But he wanted me to sit down and have a meeting, and I said I was really, really busy. That's back when I was doing everything at the same time. And then I got another call wanting me to come out. So finally he called me, the publisher, and said it was a big money deal having to do with movies. Big deal, so I said okay. When I went to his Beverly Hills home, everything was a setup. When I walked in, there was probably 20 people from his office sitting in this huge living room. And when I came in, I walked over to sit down, and I went to sit down, and somebody grabbed me by the shoulders, stood me up a little violently, started patting me down. They were like slapping me more than they were patting me. And the publisher said, I had made a deal with this magazine that they would get the girls first if they were willing to do that magazine. But a lot of girls back then that did not do movies but was with me did not want to do this magazine because it's an extremely left-wing liberal. Even the jokes that are in it are politics and one thing and another. So every once in a while, I would run across a girl that did not want to do that magazine because it was very popular and a lot of them were sold. Maybe their parents didn't know they were doing nudity. And these are girls that may or may not do movies, okay? And so what he didn't understand, the publisher, is there are people that did not want to do, and I'll say it, Hustler magazine. They didn't want to do it because of the nature of it or the popularity of it. The publisher was screaming at me. They had made me a deal that I owed him a lot of money and that he had my fucking, quote, fucking phone tapped, which he didn't. And he knew that I was screwing him in one thing and another. And I said, that's absolutely not true. And I explained to him what I just explained to you, that there are people that do not want to do Hustler magazine. Not often, but some. And some were really attractive girls back then. And at any rate, he wanted me to start paying him back. And as I was jerked up out of the chair and kind of shoved from behind out of the room down to the parking, the bodyguard did pull a gun out, put a gun on me and said, we don't want to hear about this from anybody else, anybody knowing of this. When I went to get into the van, I got one leg in because it's a high step. The other leg was out. The bodyguard kind of slammed the door on my leg. And I was in such shock that I didn't even remember driving home later. That's how much of a I was scared shitless. Never had anything not like that happen before. But anyway, that publisher had nothing to do with my beatings, even though he bragged that he did. It's kind of like Trump. Take credit when it's not his.
Well, that's not very fun. I wouldn't like that situation. That make me very upset, and it's kind of helpless because you're you by yourself, right? And you got all these big, powerful bodyguards.
Yeah.
Or whatever he's got there. So you had 20 plus people. So sorry about that.
Well, it was I was told that every once in a while, the owner of the magazine would pull a stunt like this at work in one of the floors that he ran in the building, in the high-rise building. And it's an object lesson to his employees not to fuck around with him, to get it done. That's why it was done in front of everybody. In fact, I think Clyde McLean was there. I'm pretty sure he was there.
Wow.
Well, like I said, there were like 20 people in the room.
Wow. That's pretty serious, really, today's time, but in those
I put up a lot. That's why it was hard for me to close it and walk away with what I've had to contend with in order to stay in business.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just can't turn.
I never gave him any money.
Oh. Oh, that's good. He's got enough.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like talking like that, but anyways, I don't talk that way about money. You know, everybody, if they owe money, you owe money, but you don't owe money. I'm sure you didn't owe him anything, right? So that's the 80s. That would happen in the 80s something, right?
Right.
So here I come along in the 89 and 1990s. So the production now is changing because, you know, in the early 80s, I know video just came, right? Mm-hmm. It just started coming. And so the shooting the films was hard. Shooting a film took time. I shot a lot of films, so it took time. 3 or 4 or 5 day shoots we'd had a lot of times.
Right.
So when the video camera comes, it's a lot quicker.
Right.
Right. But now it's legal. You know, in 1990 it's really super legal. And so here we are in 1990. Mm. How do you see the 80s compared to the 90s?
They kind of blend in with each other, really and truly. I mean, I can't think of anything outstanding in the 90s that would be, you know, interesting enough to bring up, because like I said, the 80s and 90s kind of were a little bit of a blur together. In other words, there's a lot of production for both. Everybody thinks they're a director now. They can go rent a little $100 a day camera and shoot a movie. And a lot of garbage was shot.
In the 90s or after the 90s?
And probably after the 90s.
After the 90s, yeah. So,
excuse me.
So when was your favorite time of the business? The most fun, you know, the most that you felt.
The most fun was probably in the area where I was doing it all. Nobody assisted me. And that was back when a lot of people shot and paid cash. I was also financing video movies that were pre-sold to the different distributors. And
what year was that?
Oh, God. I think it was in the 80s.
So pretty much your favorite time of the business was the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, I would say so.
You were producing movies, making money?
Doing well, making a decent living.
You're about 50 years old, probably?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're close to my age when I met you.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, almost 30 years ago. It's going to be 30 years ago in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having a good time.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I look back and I go, I'm sad that it's gone.
Yeah, 30 years. Wow.
Yeah, it went by so fast. You know, it's gone. It's gone. You know what I mean? It's over. You know, I mean, I did well, but I miss your office. I miss seeing you. I miss, you know.
We were rocking and rolling during those years.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was just a dream come true. Yeah. Anyway, so I like to know, we're in the 90s now, you know, and this is a different point in time. In the 90s, from what I understand, and I was in the 90s, is that if you're an actor that can kick ass and do scenes, you can make money. You could, you know, hustle, you could pop around like I did. I used to pop around from set to set to set. Mm. So you're getting paid per set, pretty much, per day.
Well, it's per day, yeah, and per director. Meaning, if two different directors have you, both have to pay an agency fee.
Right.
You know, they shoot you and you go to the other set for the other director, sure.
And I'm going to 4 sets a day sometimes, right?
You were doing really well, yeah.
So
yeah.
So I guess my point is, let's get to the nitty gritty about actors. But some people have no idea. And I've heard this, people say before, oh yeah, that person's taking drugs. Oh, yippity-yay, that's why he's like this, because he's taking a lot of drugs. Jim, I ask you, have you ever seen any of the drug addicts in the business be good performers?
Not really.
They're not, it doesn't work that way.
The only one that I know that could always perform after a lot of marijuana was Mark Goldberg, because he did a lot of pot. But he could perform.
I think that marijuana puts you in a mood. Mm. You know, I don't smoke it because it gets me too high. But Tom Byron smoked a lot of weed, you know.
Yeah, he does. And, or did.
Yeah, Mark did. But, you know, I don't really see it as like a hardcore drug like cocaine or methamphetamine or a heroin. Mm. Like these drugs, if you take these drugs on a set, do you think you can perform?
No, I don't think so.
No way in hell.
Yeah.
All is going to destroy your brain and your body and your heartbeat. You can never, you know, focus. Anyway, so who was your best actors of all time? the best performers. Because this is a time now in the 90s when these guys got to be a little stronger than they once were. There's no Viagra in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? They got to be a little stronger because the competition is fierce. TTBoy's in town. Right? Yeah. And I'm coming in shape, and God happy, or however you want to put it, so happy that I got the chance. I'm coming mentally, physically, and emotionally ready to go to war, you know, and take all the work.
Right.
And get all the work I can and be with all the girls I can. But there's some great performers anyway. So who are your best performers?
Well, the best male performer is you. You have more work, you perform more times, and I think you caught a lot of the people on the number of jobs that you did in a certain length of time for their whole career in the short time, or in a short time. As far as actresses and actors, that's a toughie because I was never on the set. It's tough for me to answer. I can only tell you that the girls with big names, Ginger Lynn got a lot of features. She evidently was pretty good at acting. Christy Canyon got a lot of features. Most of the girls that became stars were evidently very good at dialogue, or they wouldn't have been stars because of the feature films that they did.
More in the 80s and the early 90s, probably.
Right.
But let's go back to the actors, then we'll go to the girls. Move on to some more girls. So, besides me, who was the next guy in line that you thought worked a lot and was great and people always said was very strong?
I would say Peter North.
Peter North?
Yeah. I would say he would be a second behind you.
Peter North was great. He was a great actor.
Well, he didn't get the volume of jobs you got. He got a lot, but he didn't get the volume you got.
No.
Tom Byron worked a lot.
Tom was very good.
Mark Goldberg, Mark Wallace worked a lot.
Mark was very strong. Mark and Tom were very strong performers.
Yeah. And Randy West was excellent when he was talent, before he became a director.
Yeah, he was good.
Distributor, he was very good.
Yep.
And these people the girls like, they like them offset and onset. In most cases, they do. And in fact, the girls, once the guy starts performing and a few directors have used him, a lot of times the girls they work with recommend them to other directors because they like working with you. So that happens a lot.
That's the best way.
Yeah, no, it is the best way.
One of the best ways.
Yeah, because it comes from somebody that's on the set, that is working with you, so they know you can perform and you can do dialogue.
Yeah. The business is interesting because the directors pick or automatically become closer to certain actors than other actors. Mm-hmm. And they have their favorites.
Yeah.
You've seen that before?
Oh, sure. A lot.
It's strange, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're not as good as a performer or actor as the other person, they get along with them better, and that's who they hire.
Yeah, the personality has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
It does.
Yep, I noticed that a lot. Not everybody loved me, but I was strong. But, you know, these other people were very good that you talked about. Mm-hmm. Peter North, me and him played a lot of movies. He was great.
All right.
In any case, so those guys, I agree with you. I think those guys were some of the best. Mm-hmm. You know, Rocco Siffredi came in town.
All right.
He's very, very good. Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But besides that, then Nacho came. Remember my boy Nacho?
Yeah.
You know, Nacho's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Those are the two best European performers.
He has his own line, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Nacho came in. You met Nacho. I brought him into your office, mm-hmm. right? He's a great Spanish performer. He's a movie star in Spain.
Yeah.
He's a regular movie star. He did a lot of regular movies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, his own little TV show. Anyway, Nacho's great. But so those are the performers that were interesting. John Leslie was a great performer. Jamie Gillis was interesting. You ever meet Jamie Gillis?
Oh, yeah, sure.
He was cool.
Very kinky.
Right. He was twisted.
Yeah.
But we don't want to forget one of the all-time greats, Joey Silvera.
Oh, yeah, Joey. Everybody liked Joey.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He's a good guy.
No, all the way around, great guy.
Is he still in the business, or do you know?
Yeah, he's still around. Yeah, he's still around. He's great. And you know what? Joey was a very strong performer.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was strong as hell. He was. I worked side by side with him numerous times.
Yeah.
He was great. What about Stephen St. Croix?
He's a pretty good actor.
Pretty good actor?
Yeah.
Performer, just okay?
It's okay.
Yeah. Jonathan Morgan?
Pretty good actor, okay as a performer.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I liked him.
He's an agent now, I hear.
I heard that, yeah. So then, let's talk about some of the girls from the 90s. Can you remember any girls from the 90s that stand out?
I can't put it together.
Okay.
I mean, I wished I could, but the memory's not good enough on dates.
Okay. I will bring some of them up when I start asking about girls, but I'll bring up a couple. What about Sierra? Remember Sierra, brown hair girl?
Yeah. She was cute.
She was unbelievable. I loved her.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite. Sierra was great. What about Savannah?
She was good.
Yeah.
Trying to place the face.
She didn't work for you that much, probably.
No, not that much, I don't think.
She worked for the Mark Carrier.
Yeah.
Right. And then, what about John Doe as an actor?
He was pretty good.
Pretty good?
He was all right.
Yeah.
Okay as a performer.
How about his wife, Deidre Holland? How was she?
I don't know if she was with me.
No? Okay.
I'm not sure.
What about the one and the only, probably the greatest female performer of all time, because she did so much. You know, she accomplished so much. She was so smart.
Who?
Jenna Jameson.
Jenna registered with me for magazines only, but the few times that somebody hadn't already shot her, when I would call her, she would be busy and couldn't do it. She was evidently real good.
Well, yeah, she was on contract pretty quick, and she was, so smart the way she did her marketing. She marketed herself on the E! Channel and all kinds of TV and Howard Stern. I mean, she speaks so well. She's so smart. She really is. But yeah, and she was great in the scene.
Is she still in the business?
No.
No.
Oh, she's gone. Anyways, so it's about you. So, anyways, just Jenna was great. So there's this story here, right? You wanted to tell me about let's talk about the girls. Sometimes these girls had a lot of excuses, right? Because people don't know is that the girls are having a good time. They're making money, right? They're hanging out. Ron Jeremy is taking them to all the celebrities down in Hollywood, right? The movie stars and the rock stars, right? And so they're out partying all night long. But sometimes they'd call you and say, give you some stories. Can you give us some of those stories?
Yeah, I had a girl with me, Monique Nicholson, or Jacqueline Loren.
I saw her. I never got to work with her, but she was a pretty redhead, right?
That's right. She had red hair.
She was pretty?
Yeah, she's very pretty.
She was very pretty.
And she had called me sobbing that her mother had passed away. And what are you going to do except to console somebody in case they are telling the truth? It was about missing a job that I had booked her for. And of course, I understood that her mother passed away. She had to go back to wherever it was to have her mother's funeral and bury her mom and all that stuff. About a year and a half went by. She had another job she was canceling. And a year and a half later, she said her mother just died. She had forgotten that she told me that excuse before. And I found out that her mother, she said her mother was a model, and I found out that her mother was a prostitute in Europe. And so anyway, that was kind of a morbid but cute story.
Wow. Was she young then? I mean, how old was she?
She's probably 22, 23.
Yeah. Wow. I remember seeing her on the AVN magazine in the cover on a box here. And I was just like, wow.
Last I heard, she was dating a very nice photographer named Larry Kay, who has, I think they're called Zimmer. They're cars that you buy and you put them together, actual cars. I think they're called Zimmers. Anyway, she got into an argument with him, jumped out of his car, jumped up on the hood, started pounding his car with the heel of her shoe with a spike. She was a little bad-tempered, to say the least.
That's fucked up.
It happens.
That's terrible. So you told me about the hitchhiker?
Oh, Pam Weston. You remember her, or was she before you?
Probably before me. Or...
She was a really nice, well, I think she was a really nice girl. She used to tell me stories about when she was a young teenager that she would hitchhike with no place to go. And when she would get in the car, after a few minutes, she would ask the guy, she would say, I'm really broke. Do you know anything I could do for you that would make me money today? And she started giving blowjobs up and down the freeway. She told me about it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, she was with me a long time. An actual sweetheart, really.
Pretty?
She was attractive. She was okay.
Do you
think... Pam Weston.
Yeah, Pam Weston. Do you think, Jim, because we were thinking about this the other day, after we concluded our first part of this, we're thinking, because I always saw you as, a fatherly type of person, right? Your mother was very loving to you, right?
Yeah, she was like a mother and a father.
And a father. And your father really wasn't around, but so you were loved pretty much, right? I mean, had a good amount of love from your mother.
Yeah, I would say yeah.
And so in this way, instead of being a guy that's always trying to, have sex with the girls all the time, instead you're more like a fatherly person to them, instead of just, that we're just trying to get him work and trying to take care, look out for him.
I think that has to do with my raising, how I was raised. With me being from Texas, it was yes, ma'am, and no, sir. And it really was. That's the way it was. And you respected your relatives or your elders, period. And that's not a story. Don't get me wrong. You have good, bad from any part of the country. But the people from the South seem to be a little friendlier than people from other areas. I mean, I can remember when I would pull up to a red light signal, my window's down, there's a girl in the car next to me, and we start a conversation while the red light's there. You can't do that out here. Out here, the girl might shoot you or throw a knife at you or something. They just seem friendlier and a little more open in the South. In it, the fact that I've always been against drugs. I don't drink. I smoke cigarettes, so I'm into tobacco or whatever's in a cigarette. I just feel like it's something that's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's just set up to where you're more open with people from the South. And don't get me wrong, there can be really friendly people here, New York or wherever, but I think there's more of them in the South.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I think you said did you have a Christy Canyon story?
Yeah. Christy Canyon, the love of my life, we were doing a booking, and they wanted to book Christy Canyon. And I said, well, now she's missed a few jobs. And they said, Jim, we're shooting her at her place. And I said, oh, of course. So I booked it. Guess what? She didn't show up.
Really?
That's my favorite story, yeah.
Wow.
At her own place.
That's crazy. She's so sweet.
She was a sweetheart. Yeah, but I even told that story on Playboy telephone.
Oh, yeah. She laughed.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great. That's funny. All right. If you can remember, who was the wildest actress or girl that you represented?
Probably Debbie Diamond, who every time she came into my office, she would say, "Jim, I'm really, really horny. Is there any work today?" And she would say it every time she came in.
Really?
Yeah, and she was evidently really into it.
If you ask my opinion, I mean, I'll just give you my opinion real quick. You have to be a real strong performer to work with Debbie Diamond because she'll eat you up. I mean, she'll beat you up. She's 6 foot tall.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, you know, and weighs 180 pounds, and she's not fat. You know what I mean?
180?
170, 180. Sometimes she's up and down, or maybe 165, but
Wow.
she's strong as hell.
Yeah.
And I work with her, and I don't have to tame her.
Huh.
I think she appreciated me because I would tame her, but, you know, me and Peter North work with her a lot. But right, Debbie Diamond was a real serious sexual dynamo. She was great. She's she's a cool chick. Her and Skip used to hang out a lot together, right?
Yeah.
But
wonder if they're still together. I don't think so.
No. But what about, I thought was a little wild and crazy was Brittany.
Brittany.
Yeah. You know, married to Jay.
Huh?
Married to Jay Shannon, to Jim Enright.
Oh.
Tiffany.
The two sisters.
Right.
Shanahan.
Right. Yeah,
Tiffany.
Tiffany Murphy.
Yeah. Tiffany Murphy Shanahan. Yeah, she was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And her sister, you know that story, right?
No, what about that?
They both come in, both the sisters.
Beautiful sisters, right?
Yeah. And they're going through, when I had the picture books, and they stop on a guy's picture. And the sister looks at me and says, "Get this guy in here." And I said, "What?" I said, "What am I going to tell him he's coming in for?" She said, "I want to test him out. I want to fuck him."
Who said that? Which one?
The sister, not Tiffany, the sister.
Paula Price.
Paula.
Oh, God. I mean, Paula Price is so pretty. She's like a fashion model.
I said to her, "Do you know if this was reversed and a guy saw your picture and told me to get you in here for that, you would kill me if I did that?" She said, "Just get him in here." I got him in there. She took him to the back room on her own, nobody filming anything, had sex with him, and what? I think this was the guy that she ended up marrying for a while.
I thought she married Eric Price.
Yeah.
Is that the guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Son of a bitch. That's unbelievable. She was so pretty. She was beautiful.
Yeah, I saw her, well, this has been a few years back, but she kind of turned into a little bit of a snot, so to speak.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. She was a little snotty, but then she was cool after, and she was cool. She was just beautiful, right? Because she's definitely one of the prettiest girls ever in the business.
She's gorgeous. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Tall, slender, big tits, beautiful face, and attitude and everything. I mean, she's just so, wow.
Tiffany,
she's something.
I've had guys that went to school with him. Tiffany used to beat guys up at lunch if they would get out of line with their sister. No, these girls told me about it. And one guy told me about it.
Tiffany was something. I mean, Paula's unbelievable, but Tiffany is a firecracker, huh? Red hair, Irish. She was crazy. We were, I got a lot of stories. This is about you, you know? But Tiffany, Brittany, we'll call her. That's her stage name, Brittany. She was unbelievable. She was great. She's the first girl I worked with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah, that's who you put me with. The first girl in the photo shoot was with her. Mm. And then one of my first movies was with her the same day. It was 2 girls, back-to-back scenes they gave me. But it was with Tiffany. She got mad. She got mad at me because what happened was I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I met this beautiful black girl, right? That day before the shoot, right? The day before the shoot. And I took her home. And when I was young, I would have sex all night long, right? So probably we started probably about 11 or in the evening, and I finished up with a girl around 6 or 7.
Wow.
Right? And I said, I got to get going. You know, I didn't know that you need to be careful with your energy and, you know, because, you know, it's 8, 9 hours of sex or whatever.
Right.
And then I go to the shoot and I have a scene and I do the scene and then I have a back-to-back scenes. And then it's hot. And so then I fell apart on the Tiffany scene.
Oh, wow.
And imagine falling apart on her.
Yeah.
She'll kill you. Right? What? You don't like me? Oh! You're like, Anyways. Anyway, that was something. So, let me ask you a question. Did you ever have any other aspirations for a job besides the two main jobs that we talked about? I mean, obviously this agency is a huge deal, and then you were the insurance salesman, but did you ever dream of doing something else?
No, I thought I would make a good attorney. But, hell, I got a GED equivalency diploma. I didn't even finish high school. I mean, I've got the diploma for it, but I thought that would have been good. But I thought about that before getting into this. Listen, to make it as an agent, you've got to eat, sleep, and live it. You really do. You got to go to bed with it. You got to get up with it in the morning, or you're not going to make a living, especially the way it is now, with 30 people acting as agents. So, no, I didn't think of much else. I really liked the financing of movies, but that was bigger bundles of cash.
So like a producer, you liked the producing, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, did. And you're really doing what an agent normally does anyway. I mean, it's not always done that way in the adult industry. Like, if you told me you wanted to shoot Tiffany, I would get Tiffany on the phone, give her your phone number, and have her call you. But also with some of them, we get call time, wardrobe, whether or not they've got a makeup artist, what the scene is, how much the pay is, get all the information, give it to the girl, and let the girl decide if it's something she wants to do.
Well, I like producing. I understand. All right, so the agencies, right? So you have to live it, sleep it, you know, all that. Pretty much if you want to be successful, really successful with most careers, that's what you better do.
Yeah, you got to put in like 10 hours a day.
At least.
I remember when I used to get there at 8, open at 9, and then get out about 9 at night, sometimes a little later. But that's when I was doing everything myself. And that's back also when we had lists on bigger movies, VCA, Vivid, and other people were doing.
How did that affect your home life?
Well, to start with, I didn't let my wife know I was handling X-rated movies. She knew I was handling nudes, but not the X-rated movies. But she found it out when I was on television. So anyway, you're tired most of the time that you're not at work. And you're also taking some problem calls at home. So it varies.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
Hard. It's not a normal
8 to 5.
Leave it to Beaver life. Right. Pun, take away the pun of the beaver, but because we all like a beaver. Any case, so that was kind of hard. I mean, that's a lot of time, and I guess people have ideas that run through their heads. So I'm guessing your wife would think ideas probably because you're with all these pretty girls, you know.
Yeah, she never really bitched about it. Kind of understood. And I think she knew, like I knew, it's business. It's a business. Yep. Once you cross over the line, have I ever been tempted? You bet. All agents have. I don't care what they say. I don't care how happily married they are. Especially if the girl approaches you years ago.
I mean, you were a good-looking guy, so a lot of girls must have approached you.
Well, I wouldn't say a lot. I would say there have been a few. But you got to remember that in the old Hollywood days, I've even had, when I ran a modeling school in Hollywood, one girl came in and said, I know I need to keep you happy if I'm going to get work. And it was the old casting couch, you know, so, and then to be honest, you tell them, no, you don't have to keep me happy. Once you cross over the line like that as an agent, you can no longer get on them if they miss a shooting. You can no longer get on them for being an hour and a half late holding production. Everything is taken personal by the girl.
Yeah, I understand that. So that's why you did so well, because you never crossed those lines.
Yeah.
And it must have been, I mean, for me, it would be almost impossible, but you're you're a lot more gentlemanly than I am.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but.
Well, I mean, you got more strength than I got. So then let's talk about, so the competition, you owned all the hamburger stands in town, right? And then, you know, so this is the 90s, you know, the production. What happens in the 90s? You own all the hamburger stands. So then when did you first see the new agents coming through?
Derek at LA Direct. I started in the business as talent. He was here from Europe with his wife or his girlfriend, I don't know which.
He started as talent.
Yeah, he started with me in the Houston 500 gangbang was his first job. I'd forgotten about it. He reminded me. It would seem to be that a lot of people that are now agents or have been agents and no longer exist started with him. And evidently he screams a lot at people. And half the people that work for him, he would piss them off and they would get out and start their own agency, whether they had the license to do it or not. That was probably, I'd say 8 or 9 years ago, maybe longer.
No, you know, I think that was Jim. I'm pretty sure that I remember him, you know, Derek, probably about 2001.
Oh, that long.
2002.
Huh? Okay.
Right around then, starting to do his business.
Yeah. Because I know he was finding my people on sets and getting them to sign contracts when at the time I didn't have a contract. So I couldn't get them back.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a lot of people that have acted as agents started with him.
So it's fair to say that he's probably the beginning of the new generation of agents.
Right.
He's the pioneer of the new generation because he you know, is strong, professional, I guess. You know, I'm not his biggest fan, but you have to give credit where he did very well for himself. Mm-hmm. You can't hate on, you know, a success.
Right.
That's ignorant. So he was in the new generation of it, pretty much. He's almost kind of got in your way.
Right.
Kind of, right?
I did, yeah.
But before we go to him, I want to go back to one of the best times. You have to know. I mean, if you've ever read any books in the world that explained pureness and beauty and everything, like that was great, you would say the world modeling talent calls. You know, was the best thing in the whole world. Tell me about those talent calls, because it's not my show. It's my show, but it's your interview.
Yeah, what we used to do is I had several sets of offices next to each other in the same building. And what we would do is get 2 or 3 directors to each room, depending on the size of the room, and then have all the talent coming in right after lunch, like at 1:30. And they grew and they grew and they got bigger and they got bigger and they got bigger until we literally started renting a place to have them. In fact, the last count was at Bianca's studio and I think it was 115 people that were talent. And then we had more room for the producers and directors. There were probably 15 to 20 of those. They would interview, they would take pictures if needed, they would get phone numbers that they're not supposed to get them. And in fact, they grew so much at the balcony on the back of the building that I was in. I had canvas curtains made up that you could put on the top of the wall to blank the neighbors because you're on the second floor. So you could use that also outside as a room. Nobody from outside could see in. But they used to do a lot of business like that. Have them about once a month, once every other month.
Yeah, well, I probably never told you, but I love those. Those talent calls were the best. When I first went to them, I wasn't, a big shot, but
right.
By 90, I think even by 92 or 93, I was already one of the most used actors around. Mm-hmm. And so when I walk in there, the girls say, "Hey, TT, hey, right?"
Yeah.
And pretty much you could just do whatever you wanted because the girls loved you. And it was just like, and then you wouldn't, because, you'd be working on the sets, you see that girl, and sometimes you'd be in a bathroom with her or whatever, But then you see all these girls that you loved in the talent call at one time. Let's face it, I was knocking people out, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm the smallest guy in town, I still was knocking them out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You had that one story when you came out. What happened that one time? With John?
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever his name was?
Yeah, John West or whatever his name was.
What happened?
When you beat him up and put his head through the wall. I was screaming at you to let him up, let him go. He was bleeding and said, "It's over now." You weren't giving up.
You saved him. But anyways,
yeah,
you really saved him. But, okay, so the sex, you know what I mean? I mean, the adult business is about sex, right?
Right.
What is your honest opinion about sex?
Well, what do you mean?
Like, just when you think of sex, how do you see it? I mean, do you have the old-fashioned values in your head since you're from Texas? Or do you think like the Houston 500, right, is the way sex should be? I mean, how do you see it? How do you feel?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a little more conservative than the Houston 500, even though I handle the shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, business is business, and everybody has their point on it. But I'd say the old-fashioned values are better.
You're pro-sex. I mean, for me, I think it's beautiful. Do you think sex with two people that like each other, three people, whatever, is a beautiful thing?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, it's like they said in Da Vinci Code. It's, in my understanding, it was the epitome or the top of life. You know what I mean? Where two people connect, the love, the energy is just
right.
Everything.
Yeah.
Like this, the best you can get. That's what
I would agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you're all these years, I mean, kind of promoting sex, and you're part of the business, you know what I mean? I mean, you believed it. I believe in sex, and I believe in happiness, you know what I mean?
All right.
And a lot of people that don't have sex are not happy. And so sex a lot of times helps your spirit relax and keep you happy. Mm-hmm. You agree with that?
I do.
Okay, so just some of these questions are off and don't go with everything, but we're on a little roller coaster, so let's just keep going. Bill Marigold, he was a friend of yours, and we talked about him. We just wanted to bring him up. I thought he was great. He was unbelievable. Tell me how you feel about Bill's passing.
Bill was a very, very, very close friend of mine, even though originally he ran the other agency that was my competitor, Pretty Girl International. He's always been a straight shooter. If he liked you, he would go to hell and back for you. If he didn't like you, he'd put you in hell. He passed away a couple of years ago while giving an interview on the telephone. He was a great actor in our business. He was also a very good director and had done a lot of movies and a lot of stuff, had the office down the hall from me for years. I can't say enough good about Bill except that he was stubborn. It was hard to get him to change his thinking or mind, but he was a great person, and I miss him dearly, very much so.
I liked him quite a bit. It was great for me, too.
Yeah.
Helpful, you know. And he was a friend with Jim Holiday. Remember Jim Holiday?
Yeah, of course I do.
I just want to bring up, Jim Holiday was a great guy, great director.
Very good director.
Yeah.
He always did, I think it was big movies for VCA,
yeah.
which was a big, big company at the time.
Yeah, VCA was big, one of the biggest, huh?
Yeah.
In my feeling, that VCA and Vivid were kind of the biggest companies.
I would agree.
You know, the most powerful. Video exclusives, Mark Carey was the slickest, probably. You know, with Adam and Eve up there with the mail order.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Vivid and VCA for the working performer and working, you know, productions were the biggest.
Yeah. And
Steve Hirsch is a cool guy, good guy, and I liked Russ. He was cool too.
Yeah, Russell. I got along with Russell.
So the business. Here comes the new agents. Derek from Direct, you know. And what happened is, I see, is that Viagra came with Derek. Similar, it's like a very strange, you know, a strange time. Mm-hmm. Like the new millennium, right? Or the change.
Everybody's a stud.
Yeah.
Or at least they think everybody's a
exactly.
stud.
And then everybody thinks they're an agent. So the whole business does a 360 or a 180, whatever you want to call it, changes.
Right.
I thought. Do you see it that way?
I did very much with the guys when all that came out, and I got nothing against it. If you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. But I still probably show more respect for the old performers like you that was around before the Viagra. You didn't need that. And like I said, you could do 3-4 scenes in a day that I booked you for, and I never have to worry about you performing. Money in my pocket. I know that sounds cruel, but that's the way it is.
Hey, I'm a realist, and I'm happy I could get money in your pocket because there was money in my pocket. And that's the facts, and it was, you know, it's just the best.
You were very good to me.
Yeah.
Very good. The most loyal I've ever had with me, ever. And I appreciate that.
I appreciate those
I'll
words.
always show respect for you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim, and thanks for letting me work.
No
problem. Let me in that office that one day and get me a job, you know?
Yeah, no problem.
That was a big deal. That was a big deal. My whole life changed my whole life, you know? I will never, you know, I've said it to you numerous times, and I will never forget it. You're a very important person in my life. Thank you, you know? So I'm gonna run down some names real quick. We're not going to go into a deep explanation. Just want you to give me a yay or a nay.
Okay.
Okay? Henry Bouchard.
Yay.
Alex Terenzi.
Yay.
Jim Enright.
Yay.
John Stagliano.
Yay.
Butchie Pirano. Arrow Films, the director of Deep Throat, or the producer of Deep Throat.
Nay.
Gangster. His family's, they're all.
I don't know if he was with me or not, or
he owned Arrow Films.
Okay,
but
I got you.
There's a mob.
Okay,
guaranteed. Russ Hampshire.
Yay.
Michael Nin.
Yay.
You liked him?
Yeah.
He was interesting. Paul Thomas.
Yay.
John Leslie.
Yay.
I give John a double yay.
Yeah.
And Paul Thomas. I loved Paul Thomas too. And Henry Bouchard and Alex Terenzi. Anyways, all right, keep going. Derek from Direct.
I would say nay. Only because some of the stories I heard that I know are true.
Mm-hmm. I liked him until he got smart with me, and then, you know, I smacked him. But, but, you know, wasn't my fault. Anyways, Patty Rhodes.
Nay.
Fred Lincoln.
Yay.
Ginger Lynn.
Yay.
Amberlynn.
Yay.
Nina Hartley.
Yay.
Buck Adams.
Yay.
Candy Evans.
Yay.
I just want to bring that name up real quick because she was one of my favorite girls I looked at back in the day, and Fernando told me she was unbelievable. She looked so great. She had a puffy one, and, you know, she looked so cute. Just real quick, was she great, or what? Who was she?
She was very good. Very good. Let's get through this.
All right. Peter North.
Yay.
John Doe.
Yay.
Randy Spears.
Yay.
Mark Wallace.
Yay.
Ed Powers.
Nay.
Nay. Why?
Because he drove me insane, and he was always screaming at me on the phone, and he owed me money that he didn't pay me, all of it. And he had a story that I was cheating him with the bookkeeper, and it's a long story.
Okay. I believe you. For sure. Tom Byron.
Yay.
Jake Steed.
Yay.
Randy West.
Yay.
Traci Lords.
Nay.
That's a double nay.
It's a double nay.
Well,
Nay,
triple
nay.
it. Triple that nay. But she was beautiful. But anyways, all right, Nina DePonca.
Yay.
Yay? Joey Silvera.
Yay.
I'll
Yay.
double yay, Joey.
Yeah.
Victoria Paris.
Yay.
Ebony Eyes.
Yay.
Janet Jackme.
Yay.
That's one girl we didn't talk about. She was one of the best of the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? Angel Kelly.
Yay.
Stephanie Swift.
Yay.
She was great. I miss Stephanie. Gina Fine.
Yay.
Christy Canyon.
Yay, yay.
She was great. Barbara Dare.
Yay.
She was beautiful. Brittany O'Connell. I can't remember. She was the redhead with.
Oh, yay.
Right.
I remember.
She was wonderful. Kylie Ireland.
Yay.
She was. I'll give a triple yay on that.
I liked her.
She was great. Dominique Simone.
Yay.
She burned my house down. You know?
I remember.
Or I actually burned her apartment down. Raquel Darien.
Yay.
Wow, she was unbelievable.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let me work with her boyfriend. Was jealous and scared that she was going to come home with me. But, you know, she was unbelievable. Beautiful, beautiful girl. I never worked with her, but I saw her on the sets. Midori.
Yay.
She's great. I'll give a double yay. Yay, yay. Shawn Michaels.
Yay.
Mr. Marcus.
Yay.
Gerard Damiano, the director of Deep Throat and Devil and Miss Jones.
I don't know.
He was kind of before your time.
Yeah, I think so.
He's from New York.
Yeah.
I worked for him a couple times. He's cool. I'll yay him. Herschel Savage.
Yay.
I like him. He's cool. Yay. Okay, now this is the last, not the last part, but pretty much the last part. We got to go. But how do you feel? I actually hate to end on this note, but we're not, we're almost done. But the suicides, Savannah committed suicide.
I know.
How'd you feel about that?
Oh, terrible.
Horrible.
I don't see anybody do that.
Oh, she was I love Savannah. She was super sweet and always cool, great to me.
Mm-hmm.
She was beautiful, so that was a total heartbreak. Alex Jordan. Remember her?
Yeah, kind of. But what can I say? If they do that, I don't want to see anybody do that.
Yeah. Well, some of these people so it's more personal. And Alex Jordan, anyways. Megan Lee. She was way back before my time.
Yeah.
Pretty blonde.
Yeah.
Shauna Grant.
Oh, no.
That was horrible, right?
Oh, yeah.
She
horrible.
Shot herself, right?
Yeah.
That's horrible. Just like Savannah shot her. The beautiful girl, right?
Yeah.
Cal Jammer.
No. He did a lot of work for me, even in the studio.
He was great.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Good guy.
Worked for Vogel, I think.
Yep, Ron Vogel. Yeah, Cal Jammer was great. The last guy the other day just killed himself was Brandon Iron.
Yeah, just heard about it.
Yeah. Anyways, he was...
Wow.
That's a shame. But, so, we're at the very end of this. Jim's... I know you got to go. You got to go watch the game of Dallas.
Yeah, it's past 3.
And I dragged him out here all this time. Your time here in this business, you know, these 43 years.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say one word or 2 words that would describe it?
It's been fun overall. And overall, I liked it. There were parts of it I didn't like, but overall, I liked it. I think really and truly it helped a lot of the girls to make money so they didn't have to go on the street. Not that they all would, but so that they didn't. And that's never appreciated by John Q. Public. But it is so, that the adult industry creates a lot of tax money for our federal and state people and helps a lot of the girls and a lot of the guys in not doing something that they shouldn't do. It helps them.
I mean, if anybody knew the inside, I'm trying to give them a little of the inside, you know?
Right.
It's like, remember in the beginning of the interview last time, I said they were making $2.50 an hour.
Right.
And instead, you were getting them $100 an hour.
Yeah.
And freedom to enjoy their life and not be burnt up at McDonald's or In-N-Out Hamburgers or any other place or whatever. You helped kind of like revolutionize their freedom, kind of. Anyways, and then did you ever think when you were a young kid in Texas growing up that you would be the biggest adult agent in the history of the business?
Never even thought about it.
Never thought about it?
Yeah, not at all.
That you would create so many stars.
I have one of my best friends that lived in Waco couldn't believe what I was doing. He's the guy that I sold insurance with for 5 or 6 years.
I mean, you're the king. Long live the king.
The king is ready to go. You ready?
Are we done?
Yeah.
All right, Jim, can I shake your hand?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for coming, and thanks for, you know, giving me the first job and all the good stuff and all the great times. Okay? Thank you. TTBoy TV out.